don't know what's happened to Mo, you know, Sam. It's like, didn't turn up last week. It's like, said be here 10 o'clock, I wanted to start. I'm a very busy man. It's like, God knows what. I mean, you can't rely on someone. Mo!
You're right.
What's happened, mate?
It's a long story.
I feel bad now. Nice to see you, buddy. Reliable pal.
Thanks.
Should we do Talking Reds?
Yeah, might as well, since I'm here now.
Let's do Talking Reds.
Welcome everybody, it is Wednesday, it's time for Talking Reds. I'm here again, wild horses, strained heels, they couldn't keep me away. I had to be back here with my main man Gibbo, even though I'm not sure he's been auditioning for other people while I've been away.
No, I've never said a bad word against you, and you know, the cameras will prove it.
Okay. Well, I'll check the cameras after the show. But for now, we've got loads of stuff to crack into. And I want to start with something I know a lot of you are interested in, is gutter talk. There's been another new report out yesterday from Miguel Delaney in The Independent, saying that we've made a renewed interest in Timo Werner from RB Leipzig, which I think is interesting. He's a great player, John. But is it the kind of guy who you can see us going after? I mean, in terms of the profile we've got, player-wise, is he really going to be able to get as many games as he maybe want behind Bobby Firmino, do you think?
Oh, I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, there's been a lot of talk around kind of the Anfield rap at the moment and the wider Liverpool fan base about what you do about the fact that Firmino is such a unique player and the team suits him and he suits the team, and if you were to drop a more traditional number 9 in like Timo Werner, not that he hasn't got other aspects to his game, but you know what I'm saying, you know, what happens, you know, do we adjust our play? Is that possible week by week? You know, things like that, you know, can Firmino play across the position, so it's not just, you know, he's not just coming in for him, it's coming in for say Salah or Mane, and kind of everyone shifts, and so we're going to have to solve the problem because we can't just keep going with the same 3 lads forever and ever. You know, eventually there's going to be an injury, or they're going to need a rest, or just a change of tactics really. And I thought that was a bit notable at Old Trafford, that there wasn't someone who was able to come on and allow us to play in a you know, a slightly different way, or give Manchester United something different to think about. So we do need someone, whether that guy's Timo Werner, I'm not sure, but Miguel is probably the best football writer around at the moment. I think actually he's smashing it. So, you know, we've got really good context.
He's a reliable source, and that's
exactly.
why I think we're able to talk about it, because he does have a little bit of weight behind it. I think we've heard Werner in the past mention Man United, which, I mean, I don't know if he was watching last night. We'll get to that later. But one of the things that's interesting about him is that he doesn't seem to be desperate to move right now. I think he's come out and said that he would be happy to have another year in Leipzig. He's quite well suited there, he's quite settled there. And if you look at what we really need as a Liverpool, you mentioned it on Saturday against Man United, I think the biggest problem here is our bench. Now, buying for the bench is a really tough thing to do, because you want to have someone who's going to have the quality to potentially be in your first 11, but they may not be able to do it straight away. So you need someone who's got hunger and ambition, but maybe isn't looking at being a starter straight away. Now, Werner, I see him looking at being a starter straight away, especially after having a good World Cup, which is highly likely since he's playing in one of the best teams. Now, if we're looking at another option, I thought an interesting parallel to draw is the recent form of Harry Wilson, who's been pulling up trees for Hull City in the last week or so. I think it's 3 goals and 2 assists in a week against Norwich and Ipswich. Now, he's been someone who's been on our radar as a club for quite some time. And we always like to see someone coming through and making it. But if we're thinking about someone who's going to be on the bench, would you say that he's a more likely option than Werner, as someone who fits the mould of what we're looking for better?
I mean, Harry Wilson is the definition of doing everything he can, you know what I mean, or doing everything that is asked of him. You know, at the beginning of last season, he was asked to score more goals, so he scored about 40 for the under-23s. That's not an exaggeration. I know I exaggerate for comic effect. He scored about 40 goals in the under-23s last season. So people said, oh, but, you know, it's the 23s, it's a big step up. You've got to go on loan somewhere. He's gone to Hull. Hull were really struggling. You know, we speak to a Hull fan a little bit on our coach home shows and our lower league shows. They're really, really struggling. You know, he's basically, at the moment, keeping them up single-handedly. He's gone there. He's scored in 3 and 5 5. He got the winner at the weekend. He scored again last night in a man-of-match performance. So if I'm Harry Wilson, or I'm looking at Harry Wilson, you're thinking, well, what more can he do? You know, he's got now until the end of the season. You know, I think there's 7 more games in the Championship, I think, or might not even be that many now. But you know, there's at least 5, I think, more games in the Championships where he was. I think it is 7. Sorry, I'm arguing with myself. So he's got those games to kind of keep proving himself, and then hopefully he can stay fit for pre-season, because that didn't happen last year, and that was a real shame for him. And then he is someone who's able to be a little bit more versatile, isn't he? So he can play across the front three, he can get you goals, as you say. He knows the system, he knows the club, and it would be a nice story.
It would be a nice story. I don't really want to pit them just against it's one or the other. I mean, I think there's probably going to be other options in there. Personally, I'll be looking at someone like Moussa Dembele from Celtic. But anyway, the point I wanted to make here is that it's interesting, us as fans, we're often accused of just wanting the big signing, the sexy foreign striker. But maybe in someone like Harry Wilson, who's been with the club, who knows the club, understands the club, and knows the way Klopp wants to work, and like you say, has been ticking off box after box throughout his career, maybe he's the person who we should be looking for to make an impact.
It's funny you say that, because we do a show on our subscription service, our subscription podcast service, Talk Play, which is £5 a month. Subscribe now, or now or later. Anytime today is fine. But we do a show called The Big Question, which is all about looking at wider issues around Liverpool Football Club. And the one we recorded yesterday, which is going out today, in fact might even be out before this, is that, well, what should Liverpool want from their youth team, and what should we want as fans? So we all say, we want to see local lads in the team, but are we prepared to allow them to make mistakes?
Yes.
Are we prepared to see them looking a little bit more? Are we prepared to be patient with them until they get to the required level? Or actually, when we say we want local lads in, do we really want Timo Werner?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you look at this season as a kind of arbiter, you can look at the different performances and the fortunes of Divock Origi, who's now out on loan at Wolfsburg and by all accounts hasn't been doing very well, or Dom Solanke, who people could say has had a similarly good career in under-23 level as Harry Wilson and hasn't yet managed to connect and really push on at the top level. So what we're saying here really is there's no hard and fast answer. It's a fun debate though. It's almost an existential debate about what we want out of our club, what we want them to be doing.
Yeah, so if you want more of that, as I say, the Big Question is out today on Talk Play, subscription service, £5 a month. So yeah, good on it. It was a good show. I was on it. I wouldn't lie to you.
Yeah, no chance of him ever lying to anyone. Now, moving swiftly on there, from talking of Harry Wilson, some of his former teammates from the under-19s team are playing tonight. Today. In fact, no, sorry, it's today, isn't it?
1 p.m.
1 p.m. Oh, wait, what's happened to my watch? I don't know. Yeah, 1 p.m. we're playing the quarterfinals against Man City away at their City of Manchester Academy, which is quite a nice complex, actually. If anyone's been around Manchester, drive past it. But it's a big game, John, and we're getting to the quarterfinal stage. Just the business end. There are a lot of big teams still in it. There's Real Madrid still around, Barcelona still around. If we can get one over on the other side of Manchester, as the lads did in the last rounds, paid to United, this could really be the chance for us to get some silverware here.
It could be, yeah. It is a big game. It's funny because it's European. It's the equivalent of the Champions League at under-19s level, but we've played 2 Manchester teams in a row, and so that's it's a funny quirk of the draw, if you like. But if they get through this game against Manchester City, the semi-finals and final are all over one period of time over in Lyon in Switzerland, so that'll be a fantastic experience, especially for the younger players, because there is a lot of young players in this under-19s team. There's few 16-year-olds playing in it, so guys like Curtis Jones, who I'm sure kind of people who know who are young for the under-18s, never mind kind of this one, so that'll be a great experience for them, and it's a good experience in playing in football games that matter as well, because we want these guys to, well, at least some of them to end up playing for the first team, as we've just discussed. And sometimes the league games can get a bit monotonous, I think, and you think, well, what we're all kind of in it for. But if for these huge cup games, it's an experience of them of going to somewhere like Manchester City, when it's 90 minutes and it's all on this, and that's what it's going to be like for them at elite level. So best of luck to them. This is going to be a step up. Manchester City are better than Man United at this level. There's no kind of two ways about it.
They won the game in the Premier League too, I believe, in January. 3-2 it was. Yeah, it was a close game.
I mean, it's hard to completely compare, obviously, because it's a slightly different age group. But City are really strong. They're likely to have Phil Foden, who got player of the tournament in the Under-17s World Cup. Top scorer in that was Ryan Brewster, who Liverpool won't have, unfortunately. He's still out injured, so Manchester City little kind of edge there. But look, it's 11v11, and I saw Steven Gerrard did an interview today. Steven Gerrard's obviously the manager. I'm sure everyone knows that, but if you don't, Steven Gerrard's the manager. Did an interview today, and he's saying, we've got a good chance. He believes in the team. He believes in the lads who he's taken over there. So fingers crossed. So if you're able to get over to Manchester, a couple of us are going. If not, it is on LFC TV. I think it's slightly delayed, but if you tune in at 1 o'clock LFC TV, I'm sure you'll watch it.
I think it's on BT Sport as well,
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I think that they've been doing a real push of it since. I think Stevie put it in his contract when he signed up.
Maybe that's why it's delayed on LFC TV, because BT have got it live. I'll watch it live on BT, or the Echo blog, or tweet me. I'll tell you how it's going.
So yeah,
we'll mix of multimedia.
You've got no excuse for not finding out what happened in this game. And obviously, we were talking about the future of the LFC there, and this is right there in front of you. You can see it for yourselves. So yeah, we're looking forward to that game. Best of luck to the lads.
Ben Wood, Ben Ultras.
Papers time. So here we are with Wednesday's papers, and I suppose there's only really one place to start, isn't there?
It was a big night of football last night in the Champions League. I think we all enjoyed it. As neutrals, we just wanted to see a good game, and I think we got one, Mo, you know what I mean? Two really good teams going at each other, attacking football from both, and and I think Manchester United have to say that the best team won.
They do.
And doff their caps. Was that sporting?
Oh, it is sporting.
Did anyone believe it?
No,
it was really funny. I think people might say, why are you talking about Manchester United in a Liverpool video? First of all, because it's funny. And secondly, well, he brought us up in his post-match. He was wild post-match, wasn't he? I loved how he went, well, Man United have lost in this tournament before. I beat them twice.
Yeah. I beat them twice, so they can't be that good, obviously.
No. Which is absolutely brilliant, I love. And also, well, Liverpool have had the FA Cup. I was like, well, I suppose we are, mate.
There are certain times and certain defeats where you can see by his reaction post-match where Jose is just unhinged. He's just left his body. And if you listen to the BT Sport interview and you can hear the way his voice, it starts going up a little bit, like this, get him higher, a little bit higher. It's almost like shell-shocked, despite the words he's saying. He really didn't think Sevilla had it in them to beat them. And that, my friends, is the reason I'm most happy, because when you're someone like Mourinho and you've played so many European games, to be able to misread a situation and to be able to underestimate a team. I mean, they scored 5 goals against us, so everyone's saying Sevilla are a poor team. They shouldn't have won, but they're not a poor team. But this is another victory for teams who attack, who look to win the game when they're in the ascendancy. And when you see the teams who are left in the Champions League, there's very few teams who don't play that way. So let's hope that this is a bit of a proviso for the future.
Yeah, they didn't really try out there either in terms of attacking. Look, 0-0, it was traditionally a good result in Europe, but I think it's getting more and more now that you've got to look for that away goal. You've got to kind of, that's how you got to kind of try to do, because as soon as Seville scored yesterday, it was, well, this is going to be really, really tough. And then obviously they have to open up, and then they get done on the counter for the second. And so, it's
best goalkeeper in the world, by the way.
Well, yeah. So I mean, he kind of kept him in at first leg, but yeah, it was after the weekend. It brought a little bit of a smirk to those of us who suggested maybe United were a little bit lucky at the weekend, although Liverpool could have done more, obviously. But and told bad losers and stuff. Or maybe this Man United side isn't all that after all.
The day that Man United wouldn't be doing exactly the same when we get knocked out is the day that we will. So
Indeed.
We're not going to give them too much airtime. I know that they've got some other trophy to play for, but yeah, well done, Sevilla. Moving swiftly on, there's been movement in the management merry-go-round.
Oh, we're doing this one, okay, yeah.
One?
I did not listen to Mo at all. He told me the order. Yeah, Southampton have sacked their manager, Mauricio Pellegrino, who obviously used to play for Liverpool, albeit for a very short period. Sacked him on Monday. It looks like Southampton are lining up Mark Hughes. Says Hughes for rescue job here. I mean, the 17th, so they are in a precarious position. We do a show called The Coach Home on tour, playing again £5 a month. And we spoke to Lucy, who's a Southampton fan this week. It was funny, we spoke to her on Monday before they'd sacked the manager, and she was like, I can't believe they're not going to sack the manager. Then they did on Monday night, and so Lucy came on again on Tuesday, and we spoke to her again about who she expected. She thinks it probably is going to be Mark Hughes, because I think Southampton are in a position at the moment where it's going to be hard to get someone out of a job.
Yeah.
And so it's basically 8 games. They've got to look at this as an 8-game period. And I'm always of the opinion that I don't like the Premier League managerial merry-go-round. I think it's appalling that Alan Pardew not just found work again, but has somehow managed to stay in it at West Brom. And I think there must be young up-and-coming managers who'd rather give a go to. That said, right now, I think they are in a difficult position. I think it'd be tough to tempt someone out of a job when Southampton are so precarious, and when, so I think it probably needs to be someone who's not working, and it probably does need to be someone who maybe knows the teams he was going to come up against.
Yeah.
So Mark Hughes, with the greatest 2 words in the English language, default, might actually get this one. I used to play for them, although apparently, according to Lucy, not very well.
Not very well. No, it's very much one of those that's seen as a swift, almost placating of fans, because yes, he didn't do very well at Stoke recently, but as you say, he's someone who knows the league, someone who knows the teams he's up against. And let's face it, not only have they got some quality players there, he just needs to not be terrible and hope that the fact that they were playing so bad is because they hated Pellegrino so much, which when you see the interview that Højbjerg did on Match of the Day after the last game, probably is quite true.
Yeah.
The other thing he's got in his favour is that it's still close down there. They still only really need back-to-back wins once, and you're taking yourself really out of the picture for relegation.
Well, Southampton's next few fixtures aren't too bad either. They've got West Ham next, and we all know kind of what's going on there. But leaving it to they couldn't have left it any later anyway. But you leave it too later, then I think Southampton's fixtures get a little bit harder. I think they've got Man City last game.
They've got
quite what Man City were up to by then. It was anyone's guess. Playing me possibly, but yeah, it's no, because they'll want to get to 100 points and all that, and I'm sure there'll be some records to be broken by them, because they're on real side. So yeah, I think now was the time. They've got a little bit of a break, and then it's this West Ham game, which is kind of now huge.
Well, yeah, that West Ham game is going to be huge on both sides of the coin. After one other show that we did earlier this week, the Midnight Caller show, we were discussing the breakdown of what's happened at West Ham, particularly on Saturday, and the ramifications beyond that. So that game is massive. One more stat to throw at you, John.
Go on.
All the teams in the Premier League who've sacked a manager 8 games to go or less, how many times do you think they've actually survived?
Okay, so is it like a percentage or?
Oh no, I'll tell you, there's been 12 times it's happened.
Right.
How many out of those 12?
I think I'm going to go half. I'll sit on the fence and say 6.
6.
Is that right?
No.
Ah, you were nodding.
It was like is that your final answer?
That was 6 is my final answer. Well, I'm tempted to change it. But go on, 6.
2.
Oh, that's
2. Just 2. And do you know who they were? Paolo Di Canio for Sunderland.
Oh yeah.
And Dick Advocaat for Sunderland. So basically,
history's against you, Mark, I'm afraid.
I don't know, begins with S, red and white stripes, he's got a chance. Okay, now bringing it right back round to Liverpool for the last story. One in the Echo here that I think we're all quite intrigued about. Now it says that Loris Karius in his recent form might be saving us quite a lot of money, which is a nice way of saying that we're probably unlikely to pay £80 million for Alisson, which is what's been quoted for him recently. Now, I've got no problem with giving Karius a chance to prove he can be the #1 goalkeeper next season, provided that the form he's in now remains to the end of the season. But I think will still need another one. I mean, Mignolet's probably going. We don't know what's happened with Danny Ward. He's only played 1 game. He might be so pissed off he wants to leave anyway. But how do you see this news coming out, John?
Look, I'm not sure. I think it is the end of the line for Mignolet. I think you're right there. And Danny Ward, he hasn't looked like he fancies at all, unless he's going to go next season and say, well, you're my number 2 now, I'll play you in the League Cup, and let's kind of give you the go from there. So there's a chance he might do that, and there's a chance that Danny Ward kind of might buy into that, and I might think, well, at least they've only got to get 1 past 1 now rather than 2. I just wonder whether the Alisson thing, with all the transfers that we've made recently, they haven't been. It hasn't been a case of get to March and think, well, who's available this summer and what do we need? They seem to be like 12 months, 18 months, even 2-year kind of projects. Really, you see that with like Naby Keita, who they've tracked for a long time. They've got kind of 12 months in advance. Really, Virgil van Dijk was over a real sustained period of watching him in trips to Blackpool, and so I just wonder with Alisson whether they decided, they've been watching for a long time and then decided earlier in the season, look, it's a new keeper for us next season, and whether it's a little bit too far down the line, even in terms of in terms of what they've promised him, or just they just made their minds up that they want a new keeper and he's the first choice. That's not to say that if Alisson doesn't happen for one reason or another, and quite a big one is the fee that you just mentioned, that they don't go, well, actually, should we be settling for second or third best, or should we do what we've done with other positions and hold out for the guy we want and stick with someone who has been doing much better with us? So I think that's probably Karius' way out. I think Karius probably moves up the list in terms of, I think he's knocking lads off who we get instead of him. But I think Alisson's probably still up there.
Well, certainly, if you consider the price of £40 million that was quoted for Jack Butland, then I think we safely say that we'd much prefer to have Karius than that money.
I think Karius has now moved ahead of £40 million for Jack Butland.
Yeah, definitely. So we're not completely giving up on that handsome devil over in Rome, but if it does end up being Karius, it's not quite the disaster we thought it might have been even 6 months ago. Now, one last thing we always like to do on the show is let you know what else you can listen to around the Anfield Wrap. So, John, I believe you have a list.
I've got the list. We've just been a lot of plug-in today, so sorry about all the sales. I'm not really sorry.
It's all you ever do, mate.
It pays the bills, you know what I mean? It keeps the videos free.
Pays your bills.
Bit of a tiff there. Big question is out at about midday. As I say, we're looking at the youth team. What we as Liverpool fans want from the youth teams at Liverpool. Very apt today as we're all going to watch Liverpool v Man City. And then also at 4 o'clock will be Wildcards. We filmed that last week. That is a show where you pick the topics and we discuss them. So it's current LFC, past LFC, general footy and a bit random. I was on that show as well. That's really good. So you get lots of me today. You lucky, lucky, lucky people.
And I get to sit alongside you, back in the place where I'm most happy and where I'm supposed to be, and where you will see me next week.
No.
Yes, it's Robbo tomorrow, but up the Reds.